A hidden investigation might make you think twice before ordering that steak at your favorite restaurant. What looks delicious on your plate might be hiding a dangerous secret behind the kitchen door. The truth is, where you eat could matter even more than what you eat. Beneath the white tablecloths and dim lighting, some of the most popular restaurants in America are failing at something basic: keeping your meat safe. What you are about to learn about these 5 chains might not just ruin your appetite, it might protect your health. Let us pull back the curtain on the meat served at these restaurants. Outback Steakhouse may promise big flavor and bold cuts, but what is really going on behind those swinging kitchen doors could change the way you order forever. Their steaks might come sizzling, but the way they are handled before hitting your plate is far less appetizing. In a shocking 2019 inspection, health officials discovered major violations in multiple locations, including raw meat stored above ready-to-eat foods and meat kept at unsafe temperatures. Some locations were even caught reusing meat that had been partially cooked and left out for hours. You would never guess it while cutting into your ribeye, but the meat might have been sitting in danger zones for bacteria for longer than your car sat in traffic. The illusion of quality is strong, but the facts tell another story. Food safety experts warned that even small temperature changes during storage can lead to explosive bacteria growth. And Outback has been caught more than once, letting meat sit between 45 and 55 degrees. That is not just a little off. That is a recipe for food-borne illness. Customers have reported stomach pain, nausea, and even hospitalization after eating undercooked or mishandled meat at this chain. And those bloom and onions will not help when your gut is in full rebellion. The next time you see a sizzling platter coming your way, ask yourself, how long has that meat been waiting in the danger zone? And more importantly, do you really want to find out the hard way? Now let us move on to Applebee's, the chain known for its 2 for $20 deals and late-night appetizers. It is the place where microwaves work harder than chefs. Former cooks have admitted that up to 90% of the food served at Applebee's arrives frozen, pre-cooked, and vacuum-sealed. That sizzling skillet of fajitas, not fresh, just carefully staged steam and reheated meat packets. In fact, one former manager said the only things they actually cook from scratch are the eggs and the baked potatoes, and even those sometimes arrive half-prepped in plastic. A customer once posted a photo of their steak at Applebee's, if you could even call it that. It was gray, limp, and shaped like a pancake that had just given up on life. One commenter wrote, "That thing looks like it lost the will to grill." Another said, "Is that a steak or a damp rug?" It is not just the presentation that should concern you. Temperature logs from several Applebee's locations showed that some meats were being held at above 50 degrees in prep areas. That is a bacteria party just waiting to happen. The real kicker: Applebee's happy hour deals keep people coming in, but those cheap cocktails might be masking the quality of the food. Bartenders have shared that those colorful drinks are made with the cheapest bottom-shelf alcohol available. One former server joked that the top shelf was just where they stored the cleaning spray. The giant blue Long Island iced teas are more likely to clean your insides than impress your date. At least if the food fails, you might not remember it thanks to the neon margarita. Applebee's wants you to believe you are getting good value, but what you are really getting is a gamble. One where your dinner could turn into a trip to the emergency room. Next, we turn to Tgi Fridays. This chain built its reputation on fun vibes, loaded appetizers, and grilled favorites, but their meat handling record is enough to make you push your plate away. A 2018 investigative series found that multiple Fridays locations had systemic meat storage failures. That means meat that should have been stored below 40 degrees was often found sitting out in prep trays for long stretches. Workers described the pace as too fast and the training as too slow. One former cook said he learned meat safety on the fly after just one shift shadowing another employee. That is not training. That is gambling with people's health. The restaurant's use of frozen meat products labeled as fresh further clouds the issue. A customer might believe their steak was freshly grilled that day, but in reality, it could have been shipped frozen weeks ago, thawed in a sink, and then refrozen before finally being served. This kind of back and forth in temperature control is a textbook setup for dangerous bacteria. And when inspectors dropped in unannounced, They found meat sitting above the safe zone in over 30% of cases. One health department reported seeing pork ribs stored on top of raw chicken, and both products leaking juices into the same pan. Another inspector found steaks being left on warm counters, while servers waited for side dishes to be ready, allowing the meat to sit for 10 to 15 minutes uncovered in unsafe temperatures. These might sound like small details, but in the world of food safety, they're huge red flags. Each degree, each minute matters when it comes to meat. Even the iconic Fridays burgers have come under fire. In blind tests comparing major restaurant chains, Fridays burgers ranked lowest in both taste and texture. Tasters described them as dry, rubbery, and bland, more like mystery meat than premium beef. Some testers even questioned whether the meat had been previously frozen, cooked, and then reheated, which aligns with what several former employees have confirmed. One former kitchen manager said they often pre-cooked dozens of patties during slow hours and reheated them to save time during dinner rush. If your burger feels like it was made last week, that is probably because it was. From a flavor perspective, this shortcut might seem harmless, but from a food safety point of view, it is a ticking time bomb. The longer meat sits pre-cooked, the greater the chance it enters that bacteria-friendly middle ground. And when it comes to ground beef, the danger of E. coli rises dramatically if the meat is not properly stored or fully reheated. Tgi Fridays may try to wow you with sizzling plates and sweet cocktails, but the safety standards behind their meats are another story. When your food looks alive and your stomach feels betrayed, you will wish you had just ordered the fries. You might think a place like Chili's, with its family-friendly menu and famous baby back ribs, would have a tighter grip on meat safety, but what you do not see from your booth could turn your next order into your last. According to insider reports and health department findings from multiple states, Chili's meat handling practices have raised serious questions for years. Multiple former employees claim that meat deliveries often arrive late, sit unrefrigerated for hours, and are then rushed into storage without proper inspection. That means meat might already be halfway to spoiled before it even makes it through the kitchen door. One location in Texas was cited for keeping cooked meats in plastic containers at room temperature for over an hour. Inspectors described seeing racks of chicken and beef just sitting on prep counters, while workers prioritized plating nachos and salads. This kind of delay in temperature control is not just a slip-up, it is the perfect environment for bacteria like Salmonella and Listeria to thrive. Even worse, former staff at several Chili's restaurants said they were told to smell check meat rather than follow strict temperature guidelines. If it did not stink, it got served. Think about that the next time you order fajitas. Meat rotation is another major concern. Instead of using a first-in, first-out system, many locations mix older and newer meat together in the same trays. This makes it nearly impossible to track freshness, let alone guarantee safety. Employees admitted that it was common to grab whatever was closest, regardless of how long it had been sitting in the walk-in, and those walk-ins not exactly picture-perfect, but clean. Blind taste tests across 4 cities ranked chili steaks and ribs lower than most other national chains. Tasters said the meat lacked flavor, had an odd aftertaste, and often arrived overcooked or underseasoned. Several described it as tasting like it had been microwaved and grilled again. Exactly the kind of shortcut employees say is common during busy dinner hours. One former line cook explained how they were encouraged to pre-cook meats and reheat them during peak times to keep the line moving. Fast food is one thing, but fast meat that's been pre-grilled, chilled, and reheated multiple times, that's asking for trouble. Customers have reported everything from undercooked chicken to burgers with pink centers after being ordered well done. One particularly troubling case involved a child hospitalized with food poisoning after eating grilled chicken at a Chili's in Arizona. Health officials later confirmed that the meat had not reached a safe internal temperature. The family thought they were getting a nice dinner out. Instead, they got medical bills and a traumatized child who now refuses to eat chicken at all. Our final stop takes us to a chain that markets itself as wholesome, clean, and fast, Panera Bread. You might not immediately think of Panera when it comes to meat-heavy meals, but dig a little deeper and you will find that some of their most popular items involve chicken, bacon, steak, and sausage. And unfortunately, their meat handling practices have raised major concerns behind the scenes. Several former employees from Panera locations across the country have described a disturbing pattern of meat safety issues, from expired meat being reused to cooked items sitting out at room temperature for hours. The reason? Speed and simplicity. Panera's business model is built around a fast casual experience, which means fewer staff, smaller kitchens, and streamlined food prep. That may sound efficient, but when it comes to meat, speed and simplicity are often the enemies of safety. Employees reported that during lunch rushes, there was little time to check temperatures or follow proper meat rotation. Chicken was frequently kept in warming trays far beyond the recommended time limits, often drying out on the edges while staying dangerously underheated in the center. One worker from a Midwest location said they would sometimes serve chicken that had been sitting out since morning prep, well past the 2-hour window where meat is considered safe. But perhaps the biggest problem at Panera is how they handle their pre-cooked proteins. While most of their meat arrives already cooked and vacuum-sealed, it still requires proper storage and reheating. In blind taste tests comparing fast casual restaurants, Panera's chicken consistently scored low. Tasters called it bland, rubbery, and occasionally sour. One critic described it as tasting like it was boiled in a plastic bag and left in a closet. The texture alone is a red flag. Chicken that feels spongy or overly wet likely spent too long sitting in a warming pan or was reheated multiple times. Customers have reported getting sick after eating lukewarm steak sandwiches and chicken salads from various locations. But when you look at the broader pattern, it becomes clear that Panera's approach to meat safety is built on the assumption that customers will not notice or complain. They might notice the taste is a little off. They might feel a little queasy later, but they are unlikely to file a formal report. Panera might look like the safe choice, but when it comes to meat safety, looks are deceiving. When we look back at these 5 restaurant chains, a pattern starts to emerge. It is not about the name on the front of the building or how fancy the menu looks. It is about what happens when you are not watching. Unsafe temperatures, poor training, rushed procedures, and misleading packaging are not exclusive to one brand. They are symptoms of a bigger issue in the food industry, an obsession with cutting costs, speeding up service, and trusting customers will never ask questions. Outback Steakhouse gives you a show at the table while hiding sloppy storage practices in the back. Applebee's sells convenience while microwaving meat that is barely safe to eat. Tgi Fridays serves up party platters with side orders of cross-contamination. Panera Bread wraps it all in a wholesome image that masks questionable prep habits and lukewarm reheating. Your dinner may come with a smile and a garnish, but that does not mean it is safe. Food safety is not about flair. It is about discipline, awareness, and commitment to doing things right, even when no one is watching, and too many of these restaurants are failing that test. So, what can you do? First, pay attention. If your meat tastes off, looks gray, smells funny, or arrives at the wrong temperature, do not ignore it. Send it back. Speak up. And if the restaurant brushes it off, do not go back. Second, remember that just because a restaurant is popular does not mean it is clean. Chain restaurants often suffer from the same weak points: high employee turnover, undertrained staff, and pressure to serve food fast, not safe. Third, consider asking questions when you order. How is the chicken cooked? Was the steak freshly grilled or reheated? Is the meat pre-cooked or made in-house? You might be surprised by how much the staff is willing to share if you ask directly. And if they cannot give you a straight answer, that might be an answer in itself. Finally, when meat really matters, like for a family dinner, a special date, or anything where you want quality and safety, skip the chains altogether. Go local. Find a trusted butcher or small restaurant where the owner actually knows how the meat is sourced, stored, and cooked. You will taste the difference, and more importantly, you will feel the difference. The next time you sit down in a booth, look past the menu. Think about what went into getting that meat onto your plate. Think about what you are not being told. because a few dollars saved or a few minutes shaved off your wait time is never worth risking your health. The truth is simple: not all meat is created equal, and not all restaurants treat it with the care it deserves. Stay smart, stay safe, and if the meat looks suspicious, trust your gut, not the menu. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Now you're officially more informed than most customers. Like and subscribe to help us keep the spotlight on the food industry's best-kept secrets. And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.